Mancha, top diddly geika, and that's Dutch. It means thank you for watching, I think. But I can tell you, speaking of Dutch, I got this shirt in the Netherlands, and it's a double extra large, and I've never worn a double extra large in my life, and this thing is like incredibly tight. It's like it's a child's double extra large. So if you ever go to like Europe, where they have those skinny jeans, I don't know, I'm just saying, like if you're an American, you go there, get much bigger clothes, because you'll have a hard time afterwards. Anyway, welcome to this video. Yes, this is part 4 of the Honda XL600 restoration. This episode we focus mostly on getting the engine back together. And yeah, so take a look. Thank you. Well, the timing chain came in, and I've installed it, and it's right on the mark. You can see there. Two little tiny things right there. And now they line up. I put the tension on this, and it's exactly on top. The top alignment mark. It didn't, this is the 8, I was a little worried. There was like 2 different options, basically, like an $18, $20 chain or a $70 to $75 chain. I bought the cheapo. When you compare it to this one, this has an M on it, which I think is Moose Racing. And this one seems a bit beefier. If you look at it, just the links look a little bit bigger. So, I don't know. I checked the flex. This one's a little bit more flexed. This gear is the gear that was on there. Let's see if you can see it. It's kind of beat up. So I swapped it with the one that was from the 85 motor upstairs. And so, anyway, I think that's at least solved. So here's what I find when I take off the head. You've got RTV all over there. Embedded everywhere. And inside the cylinder. I was told that this has been bored out. Unless I misheard him. They told me this was bored 50 over. 2 impact marks, it looks like, from the exhaust valves. Let's see what that looks like. Well, I'll find out when I take those out, if they're bent. MG2. I'm sure that stands for something, but I mean this doesn't look like a clean piston. This looks like one that's been cleaned up. So don't know. So I'll take the cylinder off next. Well, this thing is glued on there with RTV. I think with enough banging though, I've got it loose. Yeah, it's loose up front. Okay. the cylinder. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on there, but there's a great crosshatch at the bottom. Let's see if you can see any of that. So it was bored. No crosshatch at the top at all. So I don't know how long ago it was bored. I'm looking in there and I see some areas that kind of look like the beginning of rust, but it's really smooth. So if you look on the piston, you can see 5.0, so it is bored over. And other than the multitude of RTV, the cylinder looks decent, the piston looks decent, but I don't know how old it is. The bike, the 85, has 9,000 miles on it. The 83, I think, had 4,000 something miles on it. That's not a lot of miles, to be honest. So the fact that it was bored out, I mean, it should be okay. The impact marks make it look like, you know, it dealt with the cam chain tensioner, got messed up, and it jumped a tooth. That's my story anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up the case, and I'll check these rings. Actually, I think I'll take the rings off and check the gap. And then if that's okay, then I'll put it back together after cleaning it all up. Measuring the ring end gap on these aftermarket rings for this aftermarket piston. So 0.028 does not fit in. 0.025 pretty much fits in there. Basically 0.001 to 0.00157 inches, or 0.2 to 0.4 millimeters. Maximum is 0.5 millimeters, or 0.020 inch, and I'm at 0.025 on that one. So the second ring is 0.018, which is just below the wear limit. Again, this is going off the stock piston. This is probably an aftermarket piston, I'm sure, because it's been bored. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and put it back together, and maybe I'll keep an eye out for a cylinder. Someone dinged this up really bad. Maybe I'll take a look at, see if they can be bored again. I don't know why this is bored so much. I'll go look up what the bores are. I'm not sure even what 5.0 means. Is that 50 thousandths of an inch? I don't know. Well, my used caliper has shown up, and it's a little beat on, but it looks like it can be made to work. So I have a rebuild kit. I have new pads, but now I got to get and I have actually new pistons that came with the kit. I bought a good kit. It was like 80 bucks delivered, I think. This was like 80 bucks delivered. It came with the bracket. It came with all the bolts. All of these were missing from the bike. So I have to get these little pistons out of here. So you can try it with air, and if that doesn't work, then you can try it with hooking up a master cylinder. I'll probably hook up the one that I bought and see if I can get that to make it, to force the pistons out. Don't see any movement. I suspect this is not going to work. Okay, got a master cylinder with a piece of old brake line from a Honda CB550 hooked up to the XL600R caliper, and I'm going to try to pump out the pistons. Okay, got a master cylinder with a piece of old brake line from a Honda CB550 hooked up to the XL600R caliper, and I'm going to try to pump out the pistons. Okay, got a master cylinder with a piece of old brake line from a Honda CB550 hooked up to the XL600R caliper, and I'm going to try to pump out the pistons. Okay, got a master cylinder with a piece of old brake line from a Honda CB550 hooked up to the XL600R caliper, and I'm going to try to pump out the pistons. Okay, got a master cylinder with a piece of old brake line from a Honda CB550 hooked up to the XL600R caliper, and I'm going to try to pump out the pistons. Okay, got a master cylinder with a piece of old brake line from a Honda CB550 hooked up to the XL600R caliper, and I'm going to try to pump out the pistons. Okay, got a master cylinder with a piece of old brake line from a Honda CB550 hooked up to the XL600R caliper, and I'm going to try to pump out the pistons. Okay, I've just got it starting to move now. You can see it's come out a bit. Now, you got to be careful. You don't want one to pop out because then you'll never get the other one out. So you got to put the brake pad or something in place for it to push against. So let's see here. I want to be careful because if I let it go too much, it's done. Okay, so now the bottom one is out and pushing. And now I work on the other one, and now it's coming out, thankfully. Okay, now I'm going to check my fluid level. Alright, so now I've got a piece of wood. pop out, it's going to make a big mess. That's why I'm holding it over this plastic bin. Alright, come on. Let's go. There we go. There's one. So that one's out. The other one is not out, but there's a lot of it there. So I will try to get that out. It's kind of funny. I mean, the replacement solid metal. This is some kind of, I don't know, hard bakelite kind of thing with an iron. I don't even know, that doesn't even feel like iron. No, it's just crap. You can see how it fell apart. Okay, well, good thing I got new pistons. Alright, so in our kit here we have new seals and some other rubber components, a new bleeder, and new copper washers for the brake line. It's kind of cruddy. I think I will clean that up. I wanted to show in here so you can see there's the main ring, O-ring, which is right here. It's pretty thick. And then there's like a dust seal here, so I'll pull that out and I'll clean this up. Okay, well, now I've got the seals in. They were pretty easy to put in. Used a little bit of this rubber grease to coat the outside here that's going to contact the piston. And they say I should be able to just push the piston right in, which I should be able to. Let's try that. There's two seals. It's like the main one, and then I believe the little one up the top is a dust seal. Turn it as I push it in. Okay. Alright, so now I gotta go find the line, the original line, which is upstairs. So I'm getting ready to put this piston back in. And like I said, I don't know if I said it before, but this is a 50 over, this is 0.5 millimeters over. This is the second bore, over bore. So they have standard 0.25 and then 0.5 and then that's it. So the cylinder has been bored out all it can be, and with the rings on this, the end gap is at its maximum wear limit. So this cylinder has about had it. If you look at this piston, you can see those impact marks. So this piston was in an engine that took a timing chain, skipped a couple teeth, and the valves impacted. I don't know if it was with this engine, if it was with this head, I don't know. I don't exactly know what the backstory is, but what's funny is, what's making me a little nervous is, let's see if I can. So let's see if you can see in here. So the impact marks are here, and if you look down in there on the right hand side, it looks like a crack going all the way over. But it could just be a forge mark. I don't know. There's none on this side. And I don't see any signs of a crack on the rest of it. No. So, yeah, I'm just gonna, since the cylinders had it anyway, who cares if it breaks? So I'm just gonna throw it back together the way it is. Okay, we're going to put the cylinder back on. I've got the rings so that the gap is on either side. We'll see if it just slides on there. Hopefully it will. I've got some two-stroke oil smeared all over the cylinder. Alright, there it is. Okay. Okay, 36 foot-pounds. This is 25. We'll do them in stages. Kind of seems like a lot for 25 foot-pounds. One of them, 2, 3, okay, so that's 25. I'll bring it to 30. Okay. 36. Okay, good. So again, another problem with this cylinder, I think I showed it before. Somebody whacked it with, I'm going to guess that's a grinder or a heavy wire wheel, and just gouged the aluminum or magnesium, whatever it is, and then the cylinder also, the top. And there's one line, this one here, which almost, it does go the full length. So again, this cylinder's had it anyway. I mean, unless it can be re-sleeved, I don't even know if that can be done. Anything can be done with enough money. Is it practical? I think what I'm going to do is clean this off. I already cleaned it off. I'm going to hit it with some carb cleaner, get the oil out of it. And then I'm just going to smear some JB Weld, mix up some JB Weld and smear it on there. And let it sit overnight. Once JB Weld hardens, it'll give it some kind of something. It's not the right repair, but I don't know of any way to repair that. So I'm just going to throw some JB Weld in it and then hope the head gasket does the rest. Mix up a little JB Weld here. Hopefully we can see that, these big gouges. Just want to stick something in those gouges. And I think I'm going to call that a win. Can play with it forever. So I'll leave it like that as I keep fooling with it, of course. Alright, that's it. I'm going to leave it like that. Okay, so now I'm going to put together the timing chain and the oil pump and the drive, everything under the clutch cover, the clutch. I did take the Kickstarter apart off camera and check that the dots on the back of it were lined up properly. Because when I was kicking it, I noticed it had a tendency to stick at the bottom. I guess that's not, that was not the issue. And I need to clean this out because it's got RTV, there's RTV over everything. Just hunks of RTV. I didn't show the cleanup when I cleaned the cylinders up, lots of RTV. So there's a seal here. Let's see if I have it. Okay, I'm going to see if this comes out easily. If it doesn't, then I'll leave it.
I'm putting a lot of force on that. Don't worry.
Usually stuff that's under the clutch cover is not stuck because, so this is moving around, but it doesn't want to budge when I put pressure on it. Anything with tools, you get the one that's 30 years old that you got from somewhere and it's fine. Yeah, look at that. So, okay, it comes right off with these ones. What's the problem with these? Oh, I'm an idiot, because if you grip, it spreads it apart. That's why it doesn't move. These ones. So it was not the quality of the tool, it was the quality of the technician. So there's some kind of seal there. I'll have to see if I can have if I have anything like it. There's also the decompression cable rotates back and forth. There's got to be a seal there. There's a seal around the kicker, so I got to see if I can go find those seals. I think the kick one was leaking, and there's grime all over this, so that probably was leaking also. So let me go see if I can find the seals. Okay, so I found the seals.
These look like the correct seal. Yep. Yep. Okay, stick these out. Have it been in there forever? Maybe not. Okay. Goodbye.
Kickstart one was stiff. Seated pretty good. That's it. Good. This is the oil filter, the fine oil filter. I took this cover off, and as you can see, somebody did not put this in correctly. This gasket is wedged. It's supposed to form a seal between there, and it wasn't forming a very good seal. It looks pretty beat to hell, so I'm going to throw that away and have a nice new one. Pretty important to put this in the right way, because the bolt holes line up all around it. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and clean this up. Let me see if there's a gasket that came in my kit. Okay, so no gasket on the oil filter cover. Just an O-ring, and the O-ring came in my kit. Alright, I'm putting some stuff together here. I already put the timing chain. Put the timing chain gear on. And that over to the side. This is the primary drive gear, which drives the clutch. This is the tang that drives the ignition for the magnetic pickup. Yeah, I think that looks correct. So I'm looking here. At the gap between these two here. So this collar lines right up with this little piece of metal protruding here, which is magnetic. And so that's how it tells the position of the crank. So that's a correct orientation. And there's another gear. This gear drives the oil pump. And then there's a thrust washer with the word outside. I don't know if you can see it, it says outside. Goes there. And we'll temporarily put on the nut. And then we have to find a way to secure this. Okay, putting the clutch inner housing nut on. And it gets a lot of torque, 54 foot-pounds. And there's no way to hold it. So this is what I'm going to try, which is to wedge this. I put in long bolts into the sprocket, and I've wedged this pry bar up against the case. So let's hope. So this is 40 pounds, which is, you know, a good amount. It's moving. Why is it moving? It's slipping. And it's bending the nut. Okay, well that was a pain in the ass. I left most of the assembly out because I was swearing so much, trying to tighten the inner clutch basket. Anyway, clutch is all assembled and torqued down. The final drive is torqued, and the kicker compression valve gear thing is all set up. Ignition is on. I believe everything is in. There is a gasket here. I put right stuff on both sides, just a thin layer, just because the surface didn't look fantastic, so might as well go ahead and use that. So I'll go ahead and put this on now. Double checking, there's an O-ring and an orifice that goes onto the oil pump right here, and this one, when I did replace this seal, the end of the crank goes here, and this is an oil pressure passage. So I will go ahead and lube that up. Okay, looks like it's on there. And also off camera, I did swap the oil lines from what was on there to the ones that were up in the box. I cleaned them up, and there are O-rings at the base of these lines, and this clamp here has 2 bolts holding it on, so hopefully that won't leak. Replace the gear shifter shaft seal. Don't think it was leaking. It's pretty pliable. Probably was alright, but might as well change it just to have it. That's it. Sprocket seal, I think I will leave it. It looks like it has metal in it, and I don't have a seal that's just like that, and it doesn't look like it's leaking. Taking a break from the engine to take a look at the carburetor situation. So these are the carbs that were on the bike when I got it, and it did start up, and I think I went over before. The float bowl is unique, so you have to have the float bowl in the correct carburetor. The left side carburetor has the choke and the idle circuit, and there's a special port in the bottom of the float bowl, and they were reversed, so the choke would not have worked. If you look in here, the guy I got it from said that these are a set of carbs he got from Georgia. Said it cost him $600. They're California carbs. They have an extra port here that these ones, the original ones, do not. You can see that's blocked off. So I suspect that that's a vacuum source. And then there's a hole in the top of the throttle thingamajig, whatever you want to call this big hunk of metal, as where this one does not have the big hole. This just has the arm. Also, the California, this one has a vent on the top. The other one, these ones do not. I believe these are the original carbs. When I say these ones, I think these are the original carbs. And so, why'd you get new carbs? And I said, there's things broken off, and the choke is broken off in there. I know that this one has, the California carbs do have a good choke. I prefer not to use the California carbs because there's some kind of emission stuff. And I'm sure we don't. Then, the rest of the bike does not have that. So I prefer to try and save these ones. Also, I found that there's a big crack right there where it holds together. But there's some good parts on there, so I'll use some parts off it, I think. But I'd like to try and save these ones. So I got to drill out this piece of plastic here. Luckily, this is not metal. Well, luckily, I mean, that's why it broke, because it's plastic. Somebody put too much load on it, and you can see here. So I'm going to try to take a drill and drill this out. Maybe I can do that. So I drilled a hole in it, and now it seems to want to back out. See if I can get it to back out. This is this is the choke. This is threaded down in there. Well, it's moving. Hey, there we go. Great. Another thing I found on the, what I would call the original set of carbs, is somebody has gummed up this little orifice here. Let me take off the choke side carburetor float bowl off the California carbs, compare it. So my plan to use the original carbs is thwarted. Even though I was able to get the choke plunger out, somebody took RTV and jammed it in where the choke goes. The choke jet, basically the siphon. So there's this little tube here that sticks down into the float bowl and gets gas, sucks up gas from that little hole there. That's how the choke gets gas. So this one has this little tube. This is the California carb. and someone broke the tube off on this one and filled it in with RTV. So basically they were trying to disable the choke for some reason. I don't know why they would do that. Maybe, who knows? So that little tube is not something that I can get out of here without destroying it. So I'm going to have to go with the California carb. Now, when I looked at the California carb, when I took it off, there is nothing attaching this vent. And that vent has a little line. Where does it go? What did I do with it? Oh, here it is. So on the original carbs, there's a vent connector between those two. And this has a little thing which vents the carburetor. On the California carbs, it has a vent over this side, but there was nothing in it. I guess I could stick that in there. And then the California secondary carb, it's blocked off. It must vent through this little thing here. So, what am I going to do? Don't know. Okay, well, next is I need to deal with the cylinder head. I'm going to take the valves out so I can replace the valve seals, and I will lap them to give them the best chance of creating a seal. And I will try to check the roundness. It looks like the exhaust. The piston that's in the engine took a hit, and the valves impacted the piston. But I don't know if it was this head or there's another head that came with the bike. Again, I got two engines. The other engine is kind of mostly complete, but it's missing the piston and cylinder. So, the first thing that we did want to do is that Master Milo leak test. But of course my little thing here that I'm going to squirt gas in just seems to want to do nothing but piss all over the place. So it'll make a mess first. Let's see if I can do this at all. This is the exhaust. Okay. Well, I'm making a big mess without anything. Alright, now I'll squirt it into the back here, the intake. That should be plenty. Well, I don't see any leaks. Feeling around, yeah, it's wet. Okay, it's wet. Oh, they're all wet. I'd say the exhausts were wet, but the intakes are not. Get some carbon buildup, but that looks good. I'll bring you back when I take them all out and we'll look at the seats. Okay, so I've got all the springs out. I've got one valve that doesn't want to come out. It's nice and smooth, but right at the top, it's like a hard stop. I thought maybe there was just like a minor burr. So, yeah, I've got some sandpaper, some 320, and kind of just lightly sanded on the very top. Maybe the top was a little mushroomed, or there's a burr. So it just doesn't want to come out easily. And, you know, I'm thinking to myself, do I take a punch and whack it and force it to come out, or do I just look at it and say, look, I can do everything I want to do with it in that position. I can change the valve seals, and I can take a good look at these seats. So anyway, why don't we do that now? Take a look at the valve seats, see how bad it looks. Put them on a carbon. I don't see any big pitting yet. The intake looks really good. That intake looks really good. Let's see the other one. I think that looks fine. I think I'm gonna be cautious and not try to whale this valve out. There really isn't any reason to do that. I can do everything I need to. So I'm gonna measure the spring height of the springs to see. I mean, if they're no good, I don't know. I'll just probably put them back in. But just curious how bad they are. Oh, boy, this is pretty beat up here. I'll clean the carbon off to the best I can, and lap the valves and clean it, and then start cleaning it up. So I'm measuring the valve springs. Free height 1.417 inches, and it's right about 1.49. So it's good, very good. And the inner is 1.24. And it's right about 1.3, so that's good too. And they're all measuring the same. Lapping the valves. A little grounding compound on the edge of the valve, right at the seat. Kind of go back and forth. So that's what you're looking for, a nice even line of gray all the way around. These valves are in pretty good shape, seats are in good shape. It's about the only thing on this bike that's been in good shape. That's good. No big corrosion marks or anything. I went ahead and put this one, lapped this one, the one that wouldn't come out, and put the spring on it. This is a decompression valve. I also lapped that one and put that one in, new seals. So I'll do 2 more. I figured I would show one of these. I don't know how great it's going to show. Getting these keepers on can always be a pain in the ass, and sometimes they just go right in. Sometimes you struggle with it for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I had one, I think I spent 5 minutes with it.
Press the spring. Get the keeper, a little bit grease on the inside.
And you kind of try to put it in place with your big fat hands. Okay, so that one is in place. I want to turn it. No, you can't see any of this. Okay, so I've got one on this side. This magnetic thing helps. Okay, there it is, just like that. All right, so they're in place. Hold this, release the tension. Should go right into place. All right, good. All right, good. Done with that. Okay, who noticed my mistake? Anybody know what I did wrong? Why do I have to take this cover off, which was perfectly torqued on, all 11 bolts? Any guesses? Yeah, so this totally sucks. I forgot to put the chain slider in. It bolts, and where's the bolt? Behind the clutch basket, behind the main clutch bolt. So that unbelievably annoying process of torquing this bolt that holds this basket on, I have to do that over again. I had the seal perfectly RTV'd on there. That's fucked up. I gotta go redo that. This totally sucks. So, do things twice. That's what happens when you don't pay attention. Just give an example of this annoying procedure. So I've got a penny stuck right there, if you can see it. That keeps the outer clutch housing from moving the main crank. They kind of oppose each other. And it's a copper penny, so it won't damage the gears. It'll bend. So I've just cranked it to 32. I'll try to get it up to 48, I believe. Here's 40. I'm going to do 30. 38 before. 36. So this moves freely. This is turning the gearbox. The outer housing is getting spun by the crank. So you have to do something to keep the inner clutch housing from moving while you're torquing the bolt on it. That's what's so annoying. Because the whole engine wants to move. Putting a lot of stress on the spline. Okay, so there's 38, 42. Okay. Penny just bent. It bent last time. 44. If pulling it up does anything for me. Ooh, penny is not looking too good. Okay, so that was 40, 44, 42, 44. Okay, so here's 46. 48. Okay. Now I gotta get that penny out of there. And that's not gonna do it. How do I get it out of there? So this is jammed right now. Okay, I got part of it. Oof. There's my penny. Well, here goes. Time to put the head back on. Looks a bit cleaner. Hopefully it'll be okay. There it is. Gotta torque it. Okay, torquing the head down. Ultimate torque is 36 foot-pounds. I'm going to take it up in stages. This is, I already did it to 15, so now this is 21. Uh-oh. Ah, crap. Well, that one's stripped. God damn it. Alright, well, I'll go take a look at that. Well, this one is, in fact, stripped. There's pieces of the threads are coming right out. So I'm going to try to put a helicoil in there. I do have a pretty good helicoil kit. And I did one helicoil actually here already off camera when I noticed some threads on one of the head cover, valve cover bolts. So hopefully, without making too big of a mess, I will get this in. Okay, I drilled the hole out. Yeah, I don't even know if this is going to work. The bolt comes down through the head with a lot of thread. And these heel coils are not that long. I don't know if I could, maybe I could put in two of them. So this is the thread for the helicoil itself. My idea was to blow the metal shavings away from the engine. They just kind of went all up in the air and in my face and back down. Great. Yes, as you can tell, I'm getting a little discouraged. Weeks now working on this thing. And doing kind of a crappy job. It's not like I know it doesn't have any issues. Alright. Okay, so here's the helicoil going in. I'm going to try to put two of them in. It's making a noise like it's expanding. Trying to see, like, can I fit two of them in? Once you put them in, it's hard to back them out. So if I put a second one in and there's not enough space, then it's going to protrude, and if it protrudes, it's no good because it'll hold the cylinder head off. That one's pretty tight. I think there's enough room to get another one in there. How's that for accurate measurement? Okay. Well, I got two of them in there, and the second one is below the plane. So, I don't know. I popped the tab out of the second one, and it's down in there. I'm gonna give it a shot, see what I come up with. Okay, so I'm right back at the same spot. I took them all to 15. I took them to 20. They all took 20, except now this one. Now this one is stripped. So, do the whole thing over again. Well, this is the next day. I got so angry, I just had to give it up. And just now, taking the head back off with a 6th time. Dropped the washer down in the clutch area. So, that's not starting out very good. So, 1, 2, 3, 4 helicoils later, I finally say to myself, you know, this can't be right. 36 foot-pounds is way too much. I got them up to, I think, 30. And then broke a head bolt. So if you look at the Climber manual, cylinder head bolt, 34 to 38 foot-pounds, so 36. Cylinder bolt. Now the cylinder bolts are M10. The cylinder head bolts are M8. They're smaller. They just duplicated this line. This is wrong. So then I Googled it. Cylinder head bolt, M8, 19 to 22 foot-pounds. Here's another place. Cylinder head, cylinder main bolts, 36. Cylinder head main bolts, 20 to 23. Now, two of them would have been stripped anyway, because both of these, both this one and this one, they started to strip when I tried to bring them all to 20. This one and this one, enforced error. I should have double checked. I also went and ordered myself a new torque wrench, thinking there was something wrong with the torque wrench before I Googled it. Well, live and learn. Okay, so I found the head bolts from the other engine. I figured the head bolts that were on this, that I put at 30 foot-pounds, they could be stretched out. I mean, one of them broke. I felt one of them also feeling like it was going to break. So I swapped the head bolts with the other engine. I'll throw the other ones out. They're all at 21. I took them up 12, 18, 21. Should I put it at 22? All right, let's see. Come on, don't strip. Okay, for what it's worth, 22 foot-pounds. This is something that should have taken 10 minutes and it took 3 hours. I'm so happy about that. Alright, I'm going to call that good. Sick of looking at this engine yet? I am. Alright, so I'll try this again. I got the mark lined up. T for top dead center.
And okay.
Okay, lined up. Hopefully you can see that mark. Lined up there, lined up there. It's on top dead center. I've checked it 3 times. Loctite it and bolt, put it in. And pulling back. So there's tension between the gear and this gear because it pulls this way. So the slack is out of it in this way. That's what you want. So I think it's good. So over here, brand new timing chain tensioner, brand new spring. I was gonna reuse this tensioner. I even kind of tested it a little bit, but there's just video after video online about timing chain noise, valve noise, XL600. Replace the timing chain tensioner. So I went ahead and I figured I spent so much money on this thing already. I paid the 65 bucks for this and the 12 bucks for this. Okay, so I need to put this in. Cam chain tensioner. This is how a guy on No Nonsense Know How does it. Zip tie. Compress the spring as much as you can get it. You stuff it down in. You put the bolt in. Then you cut the zip tie and pull it out. This is supposed to work. So let's see here. Gotta make sure we get this in the groove. Okay. And it's not really going in. Maybe I need to compress it more. Don't need. Basically, you got to get this tang down into this area here, which is all scratched up. Well, I'm going to struggle with that and come back. Well, I took 3 zip ties, but it's in. Little pin is in place. New O-ring. And I think that's it for tonight. Tomorrow, clean up the valve cover and deal with the 13 or 12, 11 different little bolts that all can strip. But I just hope none of them are stripped. We'll see how that goes. Intake manifold, and there's a spacer. It's kind of a weird system. It's got the intake manifold has a gasket on it, a rubber gasket, and then it has this spacer, so it fits up against the spacer, and then there's O-rings that mount to the head. This is the one that I found that was spare, but I think I see why it was spare. If you see there, it's cracked open. So I took the one off the other head, and it looks complete. Here's one of the O-rings. It's still pliable, but this O-ring is I can't even see where the O-ring is. Oh, there it is. Okay, well, it's still rubber, but I don't know. That wasn't going to seal. So let me clean that up. Let's see, this is the one I want to use. I think that rubber is fine, but since I have a new one, I'll go ahead and replace it. Okay, I've got the carburetors cleaned up. This is about what they look like. And that's what it's now. So, quite a bit better. I don't think I showed the disassembly. And I don't think I'll show all of the reassembly. Let's see. Float pole. Yeah, I need to kind of figure out what goes where. And I don't think I'll record all of that. I'll bring you back in case I run into any problems. I'll film a little bit here. So you've got your slide. And that is operated by this arm. And so this assembly here is pulled by the throttle cables. It pulls this arm back and forth and moves this slide directly. And then there's an offset on this other one, and that's for the secondary carburetor. And I think I'll probably show how that works when I put it together. So let's see, I think most of this is ready.
Just give it a long boring process, so I think it's best to film all of it. So let's see. So I want to get some tension on the spring. I'll wind it up once. There we go. I think that should be good. It's pretty tight.
Now there's this nut, bolt that's located in here. There it is there. I don't know, probably can't see it. Anyway, got to put a screw through there. I'll come back when it's more together. Alright, I've got the linkage back together. A little bit tricky because I forgot what this did. Anyway, so it's progressive. So you pull back and you're running on the left carburetor where the idle circuit is, and then you get about halfway up on that, and then you pull the other one open. So here's your $20 crappy carb kit. Gasket does not fit. I mean, if I pull on it and stretch on it, maybe I can get it on there. Choke mechanism, you know, the choke comes with a choke plunger. It looks like the right one. It's part of it, right? But it doesn't have the needle. Do I pull this needle out? Do I ruin it? This little stopper, does that go in there? It just sucks. That, you know, this screw here, that doesn't go to this carburetor. This is like an air screw for a Honda CB550. Disappointing. So I've got one of these carbs. This little tang is broken off. There's one hole, the 2 points that connect the carbs together solidly is one here and one here, and this one is broken off. So I'm going to make a probably futile attempt to JB weld this into place. It fits perfectly like that. So it's the kind of thing that JB Weld might work on. Not 100%.
Don't need much of it at all. This is like, you know, way too much.
Okay, I think that's good. Definitely got to get the excess out of there because I think these fit together very closely. Smear it over both sides as much as I can without moving it. That's going to be close enough. Okay, so let's work on something other than the engine and carbs. The bike had no chain sliders, so the chain runs up to the engine. Yeah, the chain runs up to the engine, of course, and it runs along this swing arm and contacts the swing arm. And you're supposed to have this piece of plastic in there, hard rubber, for the chain to slide along. And then once it comes off the sprocket, it comes down under and is supposed to go on this runner. So you can see this. The other one was destroyed. I thought I had it. I don't, but it's just crumbled remnants of one. This was like, not the metal bracket, just this little Bakelite piece, whatever that's made out of, was like 35 bucks delivered. And this thing was like $73 or 80 bucks delivered. Genuine Honda part. Why would I spend that much money on this thing? I have no idea. But it's just part of, you know, pissing away my money. So I'll install those. The new wheel bearing has come in for this, so I'll do the bearings on the rear wheel. I'll install those, and then I'll take it from there. Can I get the screws on it though? I don't think so. I'll just take it out by the way, I think. A couple bolts later. And there we go. All right. Luckily the screws were holding on, were stuck in the swing arm still.
Along with their little special collars. Almost like to this one. Keep putting that one in there.
Great. $80 part on a crap box bike. Okay, let's deal with the wheel bearing. This is the sprocket carrier. It should pop off of here.
Sometimes mistaken, which it may be.
Don't see anything. There's a circlip in here, but that holds the bearing, the sprocket carrier bearing in. So it's not that. Right. Okay. So this is the sprocket carrier. Ooh, this looks pretty nasty. Sprocket carrier. I'm looking down in there, and I see some pretty bad looking bearing. It rolled just fine though, which is funny, but yeah, I mean that's last leg, and the inner one barely moves, and it feels rough when you move it. Okay, so before I take these apart, let's take a look at what I have. Bearings, the old eBay $20 bearing kit. So the carb kit I bought, the only reason I bought the carb kit, I wanted the float bowl gasket. And the float bowl gasket didn't work. So I sent an email, I think it was $20 for 2 carburetors worth of rebuild kits. Of course it's cheap crap, I know it's cheap crap. But I did send an email anyway, and the guy said, sorry about that. By the time you ship it back to me, whatever, I'll give you half. Why don't I just give you half the money back? And I said, fine. Okay, so we've got one bearing. It looks like it's going to fit. 112, 113, 112. Okay, so this must be the outer. The sprocket carrier. So you see how the sprocket carrier bearing is larger inside diameter, larger overall, but larger inside diameter. That's because there's a insert right here that goes in there. So I have to get that insert out of there. Looks like the bearings are okay though, size-wise. So let's see if I can get this insert out. It's moving. Try a smaller socket. Yep. Ah, you fucker! Ow! Okay. Let's get this clip out of here. Yeah, just clobbered my thumb. Ouch. There it is. Good. Okay. Ooh, that looks like crap. Ooh. 20 millimeter. Alright, so the puller goes in through the inner race, and then there's an attachment that you crank on, and it should pull it right on out of there. So let me go set all that up. I'll bring it back. Okay. So as I crank on this nut, it should pull the bearing up and out of there. That should be it coming out. Stopped moving. Alright, repositioned. Finally, alright. Okay, put the new bearing in. That's it. It's the brake drum side. Sometimes people wonder what this is. This is the collar. And what the collar does is it forms what you have between the swing arm is a solid pipe, hollow pipe from the inner bearing races through the collars, the spacers, right, like that, and they form a solid pipe, so that when you crank down on the axle, you're cranking down on these, and through the spacers, it cranks down on the inner bearing race. If you don't have the collar, then when you tighten the axle, you'd be pushing on the inner bearing races going in, and that would ruin the bearings very quickly. So this last one has a kind of weird nut on it. I don't know what you call these. I'm sure there's a proper tool to take these off. I don't have it. Could be just destroying this thing. How am I going to do this? Well, the locking collar is made of some flimsy kind of metal. It was stuck in there, probably corrosion. So it broke apart as I tried to take it out. It did not survive. I took the bearing out. I'll see if I can find one on Partzilla. I think it'd be fine if I put it in the way it is. I'm sure you're supposed to have this. I don't get the stupid design though. I mean, this one has a clip, which is nice and easy. This one has this locking ring. The other side is held in because the brake drum is on it. Well, it turns out that this ring that I destroyed, people are going to ask about the stakes. What they do with those rings is once they put them in place, they then peen over, take a punch and peen over the metal. Those had already been drilled out. You drill those out when you take the ring out, and those had already been drilled out. It was just completely stuck. I don't know. It doesn't look to be all that much corrosion. There's a proper tool you're supposed to use. I ordered the tool, you know, now that it's destroyed. Cannot find those online anywhere, and there's a bunch of discussion threads about how they've been discontinued. So I'm just going to go ahead and jam the new bearing in there and try to think about some kind of solution. Maybe I can have one made somewhere, I don't know. It's too bad. I mean, this has a C-clip. Most motorcycles that I've worked on have a C-clip. Some of the CB550s though, well, all the CB550s, they do have a ring, but that ring's made of steel, not aluminum, from what I could tell. So maybe I can come up with some kind of spacer, I don't know. You put that on there. Right, there's this collar. So this collar sits on the inside of the bearing race for the sprocket carrier. So that will sit there. So that's going to hold the inner race. But there is a gap. There's not really anything to hold the bearing. I don't know. I'm just gonna go with it like that for now. We'll see what happens. Just a review. So this is the bearing from the sprocket carrier. Right. You can feel like it's all screwed up in there. So that's junk. This is one of the inner hub. That one was probably okay. It's a little stiff. You could probably reuse that. And this one seems like it was okay. Not a lot of play. Probably didn't actually have to do this, but right, so put the sprocket on. When I took the sprocket off, 6 bolts, it must have had a different bolt on every single one. Maybe 2 of them were the same, and they were all beat to hell. All kinds of different sizes, American metric. So I went and got all new bolts with aircraft, or whatever you call these, the nylon insert, so they don't back off.
Nice nuts.
Right, now go look at a torque spec for that. Maybe there is one, maybe there isn't. Well, thank you for watching episode 4 of the XL600 video. A lot of engine work. I thought it was kind of long, and hopefully it's not too boring. I was going to cut stuff out. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I left out, like cleaning and stuff like that. And I didn't show every little thing, and still it was pretty long. But I wanted to leave it long and kind of a little boring, because that kind of gives you a sense of, like, you know, actually doing it. It's kind of tedious. So what did we do? Yeah, we had basically reasonably straightforward. I took the clutch cover on and off like 3 times. That was a pain in the ass. The first time I forgot the cam chain tensioner. That's kind of a big thing to forget. And then as I was putting the head on and destroying head bolts and the threads, because I was using the wrong torque spec, I dropped a washer down the timing chain slot, and it went into the case, and I couldn't get it out. I had to take the cover off again. Other than that, oh yeah, destroying that keeper for the rear wheel bearing, that was not smart. There's a tool which I bought. This is the tool. If I had just waited and bought that, I probably would be okay, because there really wasn't that much corrosion in the threads. Anywho, live and learn, as they say, and if you're impatient, sometimes that can cost you. But, yeah, so, in the next episode, well, I won't give it away. We'll see what happens in the next episode. I can promise you this, though, at the end of this episode, I'll show you how much I spent in parts. And that's, you know, with $0 for my labor, how much I've spent on the whole thing. And you can make your own judgment about whether you think that would be a worthy investment. All right, well, until next time, thank you.